Hey guys, welcome to Book Review 176. Today I am going to be reviewing Chinese Encounters by Inge Morath and Arthur Miller. Now you might know Arthur Miller from plays such as The Crucible and Death of a Salesman. He's a very famous playwright. Anyway, this is a nonfiction piece where they went to China shortly after the Cultural Revolution. I believe it was 1978. And so Mao had just died, and basically the book is split into two parts. First is kind of Arthur Miller's part with very few photographs by Inge Morath, where he interviews a lot of people that were involved in the Cultural Revolution, that more were affected by the Cultural Revolution, I should say, artists, people of that kind of nature. Here we can open up the book a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, see, there's like traditional Chinese actors and actresses here. Well, actually, they're all actors. Even the men play the actors. A conductor that was affected by it. There's a number of playwrights through here. There's a doctor in Yunnan who actually was pro-Cultural Revolution. Earlier on, I think is where the playwrights are. Oh yeah, a couple of Westerners. I would say like my biggest criticism, you can see it's mostly text here. My biggest criticism of this section, yeah, you see here's there, like Jian Qian and some other artist type people. Yin Shan, yeah, there's another picture of him. My biggest criticism of this section is I feel like after the Cultural Revolution happened, many years later, we've kind of, the opinion has become more set in stone, and specifically with the evidence, and I think for good justification. The evidence has shown just all of the horror that went on during the Cultural Revolution. And maybe in a way we're forgetting sort of the humanity and kind of the subtler gray tones, but at the same time I think Arthur Miller, while certainly no China apologist, and he certainly talks about the struggle and all that kind of stuff, tries to take it more from a psychological perspective, why the Cultural Revolution happened, and tries to not justify its ends, but justify maybe certain processes within it. Whereas nowadays, I think we'd still look at those same processes, but just almost by pure empirical evidence, we could see, the negative consequences that have happened. It's also very hard because he writes very much like a nonfiction writer would, in that he's very much kind of in the heads of these people, even if he doesn't mean to be. Let's see. Let me read the last paragraph of this whole section. It is against such a history that post-Mao search for democratized institution augurs the ultimate victory of that paradoxical man. For the people may now be making him unnecessary to their progress, and indeed would be an irony, for in that case they would be needing him forever. So, I mean, I can kind of deduce, they're talking about Mao and kind of the necessity of the post-communist revolution, but there's just a lot of sort of stuff like that that's very kind of cerebral and not really kind of observational in terms of what went on with the Cultural Revolution. Again, something more like a not even necessarily like fiction, but like how a fiction writer would see like nonfiction rather than more observation of events. Okay, so that's the negative side. I'd say the positive side is that he really does dive into the psychology, like kind of you get where Chinese psychological angles come from and all that kind of stuff. He talks to, I think he talks to maybe one or two people that were involved in the Red Guard, but to his credit, he talks to a lot of people that were very much affected. There's Cao Yu, another playwright. that were very much affected. And I think he actually talks to an author or filmmaker that later made Race the Red Lantern, maybe. Either that or it was the other one that was really famous. But yeah, okay, so the second part of the book, kind of incongruently, is by Inge Morath, and it has little commentaries by, let me get to it. It has little commentaries by Arthur Miller, but obviously is much more sort of page, picture heavy. I've been doing a lot of picture books recently because I've been getting lazy. That's cool, and that's like a chemist / sweet shop. You only see that in China. You don't really see that in the West. That exists there. There's some more pictures from political stuff, but much more it's sort of like these scenes of daily life, if you will. Well, there's the Great Wall. Where's that one? Yeah, scenes of daily life like this. Let's see. There you go. Little things like that. And talks a lot more about kind of the ancient history. There's the terracotta warriors involved with the Emperor Qin, where the where China came from. It comes from the Emperor Qin. Talks about the Summer Palace Sun. Like not a lot of this kind of stuff was mentioned in the first half of the book, which again I found a little incongruent, but it was just sort of like an observation of just Chinese life. That's the Temple of Heaven, I think, maybe. No, where's that? No. That's in Nanjing. That's the monument to Sun Yat-sen. See, a lot of stuff like this. So, I don't know. I feel like I haven't really covered enough of this. I'll just find a couple more pictures to be involved. That's in Beijing. It separates the Imperial Palace from the rest of the commoners, if you will. It's a social realist, I think that's it. Social realist painting or poster. Kind of some people out in the rice fields. I don't know what that is. It's not rice. Well, it's not rice. It's some sort of wheat or barley or something. Manufacturers in China. Again, and I will say something that Arthur Miller did have correct is even if I felt like he didn't have enough observational points of view, even if he did have enough observational points of view in terms of just this is A, this is B, this is C, it was too cerebral, it was too kind of in his own head. Something that does sort of mirror the Chinese experience is that they do tend to kind of get in their own head, that kind of they follow the psychosis of their leader rather than the function of their leader, which I guess you could say in a way the United States is kind of becoming. It's a society that's very much built around right way of thinking rather than right way of production. Even though that's ironic because communism is largely about right way of production. But even with Mao, it was like all these psychological tricks you can pull on yourself to push the communist agenda or whatever. I mean, not that that was good. It certainly led to years of destruction and eventually led to the Cultural Revolution where, parents were questioning kids, neighbors were questioning neighbors, all that kind of stuff. I think that's, that's a little nicer than talking about the Communist Revolution all the time. And so that was Huangzhou Gardens. We already saw that. Let's see what the last couple pictures in the book are. Laughing Buddha, and I think that's... Is that Zhu Alai? That's a communist Mao suit. I think that's somebody famous, but I don't know. Again, oh yeah, that's a good picture. Kind of some of the plays of, they visit a play, obviously, because Arthur Miller is a playwright, so that was very important. Okay, we can finish the book on this. This is, this is Guangxi, specifically Guilin and Yangzhou in the south, along the Li River. You can see down here. And it's different forms of transportation around that area. Some of the scenery, beautiful scenery from that area. And then they finally wind up in Guangdong. No, does he wind up in Guangdong? Yeah. Oh wow, yeah, that's another great picture of Guangxi. This is all areas in the south which are kind of culturally different than the mechanisms of Beijing. Yeah, and he finally winds up in Guangdong, Guangzhou, where Sun Yat-sen was from and where the Rice Bowl, the economic heart of China, is. Okay, so I kind of rambled in this one, but whatever. You kind of got the point of what I thought about the book. So, anyway, Chinese Encounters by Inge, Morath, and Arthur Miller. Check it out, you guys. All right, bye.